everyone, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here at Black Star Network. I am always delighted when we have an opportunity to get together because we are sharing tips and tools and things that are needed in order to allow you to live a more balanced life. And today we have no shortage of this conversation related to our overall mental health and how, in service to others, it helps us as well. We are joined by some amazing individuals today who will share their insights and enlighten us all. We are joined by Charlotte Avery, Dr. Tierney, Corey Briscoe, Pastor J.T. Johnson. We'll also be joined by our special guest, Kenny Hampton from the African American Male Wellness Organization, as well as we have our own physical fitness guru, Mocha Lee, and of course, our expert in education, Stacy Owens. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Oh my God, you guys look so amazing. I tell you, this is going to be such a robust conversation because as we think about how service to others helps us, I would, if you would like to kind of go around and share, how are you serving other people during this season? I know many are going to be watching and saying, well, I didn't help anybody because we were in a pandemic. And now that I'm coming out, I'm still kind of on the fence about what that looks like. But each of you in your own respective areas have done some really great work in moving not only your children, but moving yourself and others around you in towards service to others. I'm going to start with Stacy Owens because Stacy, Stacy has been with us before and she is our administrator. She is an educator and she is the owner of her very own charter school system. And with that, we have learned that Stacy is definitely providing opportunity for those around her and in her community. So Stacy, tell us, what are you doing in that space of service to others?
So that's a very interesting question. Our school is located in what is considered a food desert area and also the lowest of forest areas within our county. So when the pandemic hit, we had anticipated that it was going to cause a hardship for a lot of families. So as a school, we introduced a pantry box right outside of our school. We call it a blessing box. And we just charged our families in the community and outside of the food desert to donate food for our blessing box so that you can come by and take what items that you need and also add the items that you felt you could donate. We also went even further than that and started a community garden so that our kids can learn not only the skill of planting and harvesting, but how can we come together and bring those fruits and vegetables to an area that don't always have the opportunity. It's no grocery store in this area. So we donate all the food that is raised from our community garden back to the community. And our kids really have a wonderful experience in just learning how to give back and just experience just the joy of being able to serve our families in need, and not just our school family, but our community as well.
Thank you so much, Stacy, for sharing that, because a sense of community is often lost, especially when we're in spirit and in that space of isolation. We were isolated for nearly 2.5 years. And for those of you who are trying to figure out what does this look like for you as you think about your service to others, I can honestly say do unto others as you would have them do unto you is more than just a mantra. It is literally something that we all live by. Dr. Tierney, how are you in this communal space finding ways to serve others?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I actually started at the top of the pandemic that I actually just continued in my business was offering a free coaching session. And so it was something that I did that for 30 minutes, completely free, no obligation, where anyone could get on my calendar and we can have a 30-minute session just to help you talk about all the things, help you to strategize and plan what your next steps may be. Understanding that during the pandemic, a lot of our lives were just, upended, and so trying to figure out what to do next might be difficult, when you're just trying to do it by yourself. So I offered those free 30-minute sessions just to give everyone a space to, to vent about what's going on and to help get some strategies. I am a board member for the Program Advisory Committee with the Brooklyn Collective, which is a the historically African-American community here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so some of the things that we are working on is programming around different topics that are impacting the community to help people, particularly small business owners, to learn different skills, techniques, things, everything from just navigating running a business all the way to business finances and how to show up best in your business and just in your life. So those are two of the main things that I've been doing to really help in the best way that I can to touch and reach the community.
Thank you for sharing that, because community is a very big part of who we are as a culture. And there are times when we think our village is missing, and we really do need individuals around us to support us, engage us, and give us an opportunity, as you use so eloquently. My favorite 4-letter word is to vent. Corey Briscoe, in that space of community and communal living, and as well as what you do as a businessman, how are you engaging others to see service as a way to help them feel good about the space that they occupy?
Thanks, Dr. Jacquie, for the question. Being a business owner, I've always had the philosophy that how your business shows up in the community is really the measure of your business's success. As a firm, ABCD & Company announced a $500,000 commitment to St. Jude Children's Hospital. I chair the Multicultural Advisory Council for the DMV region, and recognize that as African Americans, we give and we're very charitable. But there wasn't enough that I could see on the corporate and the business side. And so we seeded $100,000 to commit to celebrate Dr. Rudolph Jackson, the first Black doctor at St. Jude Children's Hospital, and the founder really of the sickle cell program and the National WIC program. So that was our commitment as a business, to try to get more people that look like us in philanthropy in these places, as a place where 30% of all children are, at the end of the day, African Americans, and they look like us. So we should have donors that look like us. On a personal note, though, I find mentorship to be so critical. And I think because I've had great mentors and folks that have guided me on my way. So junior achievement has been one of the places that I find value in helping students to discover their own path, whether it is to entrepreneurship or their paths in life. And so I have tried to double down my time and allocate a certain amount of my calendar to make sure that I'm not just doing the work of growing a business, but doing what I really want, which is impacting community.
Wow, such a great endeavor, especially during these times where resources are low and funding was down during this pandemic. And so to have a corporate presence and that civic engagement does seem to be quite necessary. So if you're listening to our guest today, and we're talking about how we personally and individually are engaging, I want to bring in now Charlotte Avery, because it's not just Charlotte Avery, it's Charlotte Avery, Party of 9. Hey, Charlotte.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Jacquie. And what a wonderful question. So for me, professionally, like Dr. Tierney was saying, I have also offered free strategy sessions, also like Dr. Tierney, 30 minutes, because as you know, like during this pandemic, a lot of women have rethought how they're going to work in this environment. And some of them have decided, you know what, I'm not going back into the office, but how am I going to do work and make an income without going back to my other job? And so I've been giving free strategy sessions to women, to moms, to be able to help them be able to navigate that space of being at home with their children and not per se staying home, but being able to work from home. As a family, we have continued what we started long before the pandemic, which was a campaign that we have called Warm Heart, Warm Hands. And that is really, being able to give socks and toiletries and blankets and things like that to the homeless. That's something that we love doing. Our children absolutely love being able to go out into the shelters and things like that, and just being able to package things and give them away and all that. And then financially, from a financial perspective, in our family, we have what we call our benevolent fund. And so because we are like consummate givers, we would give everything away if we could. But we have a benevolent fund where we have a certain amount of money where we as a family put together, and then we decide, okay, who are we going to give to this particular month? Who has a need that might need to be met? And so that's another thing that, we do as a family, and we do business wise also. And then just, being able to teach our children, principles of giving so that they can be, really good stewards, teaching them lessons about giving. One of the lessons that I recently taught my children about being a giver was, being able to give. And, I'm an acronym queen, but, being able to give with a grateful heart, to be able to give with intention and purpose, being able to give voluntarily with empathy, and knowing that, when you give, it is reciprocal. The law of reciprocity is always in play.
Thank you so much for sharing. And we love your acronym, Charlotte. They play a very big part in helping us all figure out our pathway to doing well. When we come back after the break, I want to have a conversation with Pastor JT, also Kenny Hampton of the African American Male Wellness Organization, and then also Mocha Lee, because in addition to being communal, there's some other things that are going on in our spaces when we're back after the break.
Welcome you to the launch of the Mass Poor People's Low Wage Assembly and Moral March on Washington, D.C., June 18, 2022.
We are a new, unsettled force, and we are powerful. A new, unsettled force, and we are here.
We're rising up to demonstrate the compelling power that we, poor and low-income people, have to reconstruct society from the bottom up.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
Because we know that there is no scarcity in this land. The only scarcity is the moral will to do what's right.
Hold on, just a little while longer.
We are those with sub-minimum wage jobs who can't afford sky-high rent.
People with disabilities are the fastest growing minority group.
It's crazy to me that in 2021, it's still legal for workplaces to pay a sub-minimum wage to people with disabilities.
There are still so much trial and tribulations that we go through as Indigenous people. We can't get a decent wage to sustain ourselves, nor can we get adequate housing.
Veterans across this nation say enough is enough. We can't pat essential workers on the back on one day and then cut their health care the next day.
Health is a political choice.
What more do I need to do to prove that my voice is just as valuable as anyone else's?
There are still forces in denial that would try to slow walk our transition to a clean economy and a just future for us all.
We have an immoral system run by immoral people.
But together we walk and we fight.
It's time for a change. Reconstruyamos esta gran nación.
See, we are people of resilience as we fight these interlocking injustices together.
When we work together, mobilize together, and rise together, we become a voice for the voiceless, and we become an agent of change in a time where great change is needed.
We need the third reconstruction to ensure that deaf people, people with disabilities, and all people can have the right to live and to thrive.
We know what they are doing, but the question is, what are we going to do? Reconstruction begins when we change our mentality and say it's time for you to get your foot off of my neck.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. Let me just tell you, as you have heard, we are going to really help you discover how to take and put one foot in front of the other. Sometimes being able to give to other people isn't easy. It's not because you're selfish or stingy or frugal. Sometimes you just don't know who to, how to, when to, where to, and why to. And so I hope that today, something that we say will give you the ability to figure out the pathway that is best for you. I want to bring in now 3 very important individuals, Mocha Lee, Kenny Hampton, and Pastor JT. Welcome. Hi, you guys.
Hello.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Thank you for joining me today. You know, we've been talking about what it looks like to be communal in our sense of giving. And I know, Mocha, this is going to take you completely off guard. But, you know, you're our fitness expert. And oftentimes when it comes to giving, we don't think of doing things as a group. We often want to be solo because we're self-conscious or we have some type of physical bias of our own about our bodies and what we look like during this pandemic. How are you helping your clients discover how to give back or to give of themselves to others, not just only in fitness, but in general and in life?
Wow, Dr. Jacquie, that is a great question. Great. And I think in terms of fitness and the whole physical side of our lives, especially if there are some athletes out there, some of your viewers who come from a team concept, you know, I ran track and there might be other sports. When you think about team, it's all about camaraderie, accountability, which we talk about a lot on your show. And I just try to remind my clients that, you know, judgment is not something that we're here to do towards each other or especially towards yourself. So throughout the pandemic, I've encouraged a lot more group virtual workouts so that people can connect in that way. And when you see somebody else, you know, doing a workout, doing a stretch, doing any component of physical fitness, it just inspires you, you know, especially when we're all in the same boat. And especially in the beginning of the pandemic, those are my gym rats were like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I can't go to the gym. I prided myself in showing them, hey, do you have a set of stairs in your house? Because we can still get it in. And I think my job throughout the pandemic and still today is to just encourage people to focus on self-care, be creative about it, try to figure out how to have fun, and always involve whoever else you can involve, and especially your kids and family, because they need it as well.
So I have another question for you, because there are many causes that people can participate in when it comes to doing a 3K, a 5K, or a kids fun run. How do those activities as a sense of community help people get into the rhythm of their lives again?
That is such a great question, because you know I love the 5Ks. Yeah, there are so many group activities like 5Ks, races, 5 kilometers, which is 3.2 miles, and many cancer awareness groups and just groups of people who come together and they're working out with a purpose. So they might be raising funds or awareness. And then you know that what you're doing is not just benefiting yourself, but it's benefiting others as well, and particularly a huge group overall. So that always makes you just feel so fulfilled to know that, you know, what you're doing is helping others, it's benefiting others. And in a lot of cases, you really can raise a lot of funds. If you just open up your mouth and say, hey, this month I'm going to go do a race and it's on behalf of such and such cause. And if you just give me a little donation, it goes right into the pot. And you'd be surprised how people are just willing to support, you know, because they know you personally, so they know what you're doing is authentic and legit. So it's a great way to raise money. And I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you for sharing, because, you know, we're here in the DMV, and wherever you all may find yourselves, take some time to go to race.org or some of the other websites that give you the capacity to see what's happening in your town or in your community. I want to tell you that running for causes, being engaged in races, allows you to meet people who have similarities to you. I honestly tell you, we think that we are different, but we definitely have more in common when it comes to how we decide not only to use our time, but how we choose to use our resources. Now, Pastor JT, as a sense of community, what are some of the things that you're doing in your area? And then personally, how are you investing and engaging in helping people understand the value of service?
Wow. Thanks for that question, Dr. Jacquie, and definitely thank you for having me on. I will honestly say, you know, you said Pastor JT, but I would more so say it's more servant JT. When the pandemic hit, as many have shared, there was a need for us to pivot. Charlotte mentioned about how she had to have sessions with mothers who were rethinking how to work and how to get back into the workforce. Well, I believe that God ordained pause that happened for the last 2.5 years forced us to rethink church. And so we were forced to realize that the church service may actually be 90 minutes, 2 hours, or, a little bit more. But the service of the church literally is 7 days a week. And so the Word Church, who is known in the city of Houston for our giving, we really championed taking our giving to another level, but we had to pivot. So over the span of the quarantine, we were consistently giving away masks, hand sanitizer. We adopted schools, daycares, even some medical facilities. We were ensuring that they had PPE. We were also partnered with the Houston Food Bank. We had several food drives, as well as the Word Church in partnership with our nonprofit, the Fulfillment Project. We do 3 major initiatives throughout the year: our back to school event, food for Thanksgiving, and then toys for Christmas. So when quarantine hit and they realized that the kids were going to be virtual in the area that we serve, which is a low income area in the city of Houston, we knew that a lot of the children didn't have access to computers. So we came forward and we made sure all of the children that we normally would be giving backpacks to, we gave tablets. And then we had a drive-through Thanksgiving food drive, and then we had a drive-through Christmas toy distribution. And then we actually continued that on this past year. Now we're working to figure out safe ways to re-engage our community and bring them back face-to-face, where we will continue our outreach efforts. But that's one thing that we did not do. We knew that there was a opportunity for us to step in and show our community that even though you aren't able to come to our church service, the church is still here to serve you. And I think that through this time, I believe that a lot of congregants have looked back at their church and they have asked, well, what are we doing for our community? We've seen so many of our cathedrals with locks on their doors for 7 days. And that building could be multi-purpose for so many different opportunities. And I think that the quarantine forced us to realize that the church service is from the call to worship to the benediction, but the service of the church is from the benediction to the call to worship.
I like that idea and that concept because it says we never stop giving. It's a very big part of who we are. It's, interwoven into the fabric of our lives. I want to bring in for this one-on-one conversation with Kenny Hampton. Now, a few weeks ago, you guys were watching and we had, 2 other individuals, Chad and John, on from the African American Male Wellness Agency, and they bring a wealth of knowledge and resources and information. Hello, Kenny Hampton. How are you, sir?
Well, hello there. I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
All things are well. I'm glad that you're joining us today because I'm very excited to learn a little bit more about who you are and what you do for AA Wellness, but also how is the organization giving back and helping others find their space in order to thrive during this very unprecedented season in all of our lives?
Yes. Well, I'm just a former pro athlete from the city of Detroit, born and raised. I'm also a PK and a PGK. Right. So I have a very good foundation of discipline and giving. But I call myself a serial servant leader, author, motivational speaker, mentor. That's what I do. But who I am in my core is I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a servant leader. And the question of, how we're serving the community during this time and how we serve the community during those times is, number one, I had to really do an assessment on serving those that were actually inside of my home, making sure that I was available for them. Our kids were forced to go to remote learning. My wife was juggling the idea of, working from home and also helping our kids with schoolwork. And so we were all kind of pitching in, trying to figure out how do we navigate this. But we made sure that we made family time a priority. We talked often through the uncertainties of if we're going back into the classroom, if we're not, if we're wearing masks, if we're not. And so I made it a point to our family to make sure that we walk this walk together. And that's what we ended up doing with the agency as well, is that we're big on mental wellness with our men. And so we created safe spaces. We call them Real Men, Real Talk, where we have an opportunity to go maybe to a church or to a restaurant or to a barbershop. And we have a safe space created for our men to just have conversation about some things that may be bothering them. Men, we like to walk around with things bottled up. And we wanted to be very intentional about giving men an opportunity to just decompress, have a little bit to eat, throw some things against the wall and just say, hey, you know what, I'm dealing with this. What can you guys share with me tonight that can help me get better in this area? And what we've learned is that a lot of men, through those exercises, through those conversations, they were able to really walk away and feel like, hey, you know what, brother, I can go ahead and make it. Because what we've learned is peer support is very critical. And it's important to many of our success in things that we're trying to do, whether it's trying to get more fit, whether it's trying to do better with finance. It's like if we kind of got that camaraderie, we got that brother or that sister walking that walk with us, it makes a big impact on our outcome.
Thank you for sharing that information. And when we come back after the break, I want to kind of dive into what all of this means to us as we are figuring out how do we use service to others to truly understand how it does make us better when we're back after the break.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can tell, we are learning so much today, whether you are corporately engaged, personally engaged, physically engaged, spiritually engaged, or communally engaged. These are times for us to really figure out how we can give back in a way that is meaningful. You've heard a lot about causes and those which we can become a part of. And we're, in this space as we're talking about mental health and well-being. And sometimes our own mental sanity gets questioned. People sometimes don't understand why we do what we do, why we give so much. But there's something about the passion and purpose of giving that really makes us feel better. I want to have a conversation now with Dr. Tierney, Charlotte, and Stacy to help us get into this understanding, and Mocha as well, about as women, why is it important for us to have something to tether ourselves to? Hey, ladies.
Well, let me go first. For me, it's important for me to have something to tether myself to because, I have so many things going on just within my household alone, in being a wife and a mom of 7 amazing, active, incredible children, I still need to have something that is specifically mine, that it's my purpose, that it's my cause, that, it may come out of something that I've done with them, but that it is mine. And it fulfills me and it gives me gratitude and it makes me feel like, I'm really doing this thing for other people, but then it doesn't just become about them, because when I'm able to serve people from my heart space and do what I feel like God has called me to do, then it also helps me to be a better wife and a better mom for my household.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Tierney.
You both said the word purpose, and that's actually a top question that I get from my clients. Dr. Tierney, help me find my purpose. And oftentimes when I get that question, I'm being asked basically to help me find my career. What am I going to do next? I need to make money. And the first thing that I tell my clients is that your purpose is not just about profits. If you're thinking about your purpose just through the lens of profits, then that's too small. Your purpose is always connected to people. How are you using your God-given gifts and talents to serve his people? My Aunt Gina told me something when I first was starting, my business. She said, if you take care of God's people, then God will always take care of you. And so when we're talking about something to tether to, it comes back to that whom much is given, much is required, And so in thinking about my purpose or any of our purpose, our number one purpose is to serve others. We are told to carry each other's burdens, and when we do that, I tell my clients all the time, I get as much out of our sessions than they get, from me, just being in that space, helping others. And it's not just even in my client sessions, it's when I help an elderly person put their groceries in their car. When I see a kid that, falls down from riding his bike and his parents might not be around, and I help that kid, back up in that moment. Or when I just come alongside someone that I can see that something is going on and we just talk about it, there is this feeling that I can't even really put into words, that whatever is going on in my life, whatever trials or tribulations I'm struggling with, it's like it minimizes, not that it goes away, but I feel that I can run on and I can keep running the race that God has called me to, because I'm helping to encourage the brother and sister that's running right alongside me. So that's the thing, really, when we're thinking about purpose, always connect it to people, because that's how God connects our purpose too.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that information. Stacy.
I was going to say that in connection to the purpose, that God gave me the vision to start this charter school, and it allowed me to connect with families and children who sometimes can lose sense of hope and lose sense of their purpose. And when you create such a space and you be obedient to doing what God has asked you to do, you realize that everything in this world is connected to something larger than you. So that made me get to that space of, I wanted to have that connection of that sense of belonging. So how can I change the trajectory of the people that I was called to work with, so that they can see that it's not only just having hope for them, but how can you give hope to others? And just the joy that comes from being able to model and mentor for others, that's just our task in life, is to find a way to love each other, to help each other, and to give back. So I think just staying connected to the idea that this is bigger than me. And if it's bigger than me, then what can I do to connect to the community that I'm in?
Thank you for sharing that. Mocha Lee.
Yeah. Oh, wow. All of the ladies have hit it on the head. I'm telling you, I'm 100% agreeing with everything. And the only thing I can really add is that my daughters are right now 14 and 10. And I'm noticing that I just don't want them to have a feeling of entitlement and being spoiled. I don't know. It might just be mine. But some of these kids out here really have no idea how good they have it. And so it is important for me as a mom to keep pouring into them and showing them that, guess what? God gave you talents and gifts. And the reason he gave them to you is so that you can share them with others. And, you always just want to pray that the younger generation will get it and get it early, so that they get that same feeling that Dr. Tierney was talking about, when you just feel so fulfilled because you know that you're serving, and serving is what we're here to do. So, yes, I agree with all these ladies. And I just think it's a blessing. I hope we all realize, it really is truly a blessing to finally realize that you are walking in your purpose. And like Miss Stacy said, Sister Stacy, just being obedient to it. That's sometimes, I think, the toughest part. But just trying to hang in there and be disciplined and stay true to your call.
Thank you for sharing that. When we come back after the break, I want to talk to the gentleman again, because I heard a word. Actually, it was a phrase, something entitled male servant leadership, when we come back after the break.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, tethering your life to things that matter can really have a profound impact on you, and being able to not only move your life forward, being able to move the lives of other people forward. In a prior segment, when the gentlemen were talking, I heard a couple of things that really piqued my interest. So I kind of want to unpack that for just a moment. Someone mentioned the word uncorked. And let me tell you, sometimes you have to figure out how to pop the top on the things that are bothering you in life so that they don't fester. And a part of being able to do that is what's considered male servant leadership. Let me tell you, being able to figure out how to live with those things in your life is a much better place than becoming unhinged. Gentlemen, welcome back. You guys got me stimulated in my brain when you were starting to talk about all of the ways and avenues that men figure out how to communicate, as well as how they relieve themselves from the pressures of life. And I think that is important as we talk about veterans, and, this is going to, be that time where, just one day past Memorial Day. And this gives us an opportunity to really understand how men think and how they function. So I'm going to start with Corey Briscoe. Corey, can you share with us, what does downtime and removing self from things that bother Corey look like? Hoping that our men will really be able to see that it's okay to release yourself from things in life that are troublesome.
What a great question. I think for me, it's easy to, I say this all the time, my role as husband and as just a male, right? Provider, protector, priest, et cetera. There's so many things that we have on our plates that we get caught up in those things. And it's almost as if we take on those things or those titles and we forget who we are, right? And so I have tried to be very intentional. I sit on so many national boards. I try to be active in the community. I'm trying to build a business. But in the midst of that, I don't want to lose Corey. And so for me, I build in time into my calendar, and it is just as important that I build in, critical business development meetings, but time for Corey to step away from the driving the ship, doing whatever it is that I am supposed to do, and focus on my well-being. The reality is this: if I can't focus on me, I'm actually not good to any of those things that I want to do, any of those things that I've subscribed to do. And so I look at it like this: as a man of faith, work is just important as rest. Both are commandments, and obedience in both are important. And so it's taking that time and looking at the Lord as a model, right? He rests after he worked. I think sometimes making these things practical, applying them to our lives, and noting that, that time away actually charges us forward and not takes us back. I think a part of it, we look at it and say, oh goodness, I'm missing this time, I could be doing this, but really recharging the mind has proven to produce better results when you are well rested, when you have time for clarity of mind, to decompress. And so I'm trying to apply it in my own life. I tell my assistant, if I've got 70 hours or whatever hours I'm working, a tenth of that time has to be just for me, to take time for me.
Take time for you. What an amazing something to think about, because many people don't know how to take time for themselves because their calendars and schedules are just consistently booked, and they feel like that's the only way for them to thrive. But a part of thriving is being able to survive. Pastor JT, talk to us for a moment about uncorked versus being unhinged.
Well, I definitely would echo the sentiments from Corey. I believe that one of the things that we have to do is there has to be self-awareness. You have to know when you are getting to that place where the check engine light is on, or you're getting to that place where the low fuel light is on. I actually preached a message, or I guess I would say taught a message, and the title of it was, Lord, Help Me, I'm Depressed. And so many times we don't have these conversations in our sanctuary. And so many of our parishioners are leaving every Sunday. They've touched their neighbor, they've run around the building, but they're going back home to suffer. And it was actually a case study in the Old Testament of Elijah, where on the heels of him defeating the prophets of Baal, the very next chapter, he was sitting under a bush and he told God, I'm done with it. I'd rather just die. You would never think that an Old Testament prophet, as great as he was having suicidal thoughts. But the very next scripture said that he went to sleep. And then the angel came and brought him food and gave him something to drink and let him sleep some more. So my very first point was God didn't come with a TD Jakes video. He didn't come and try to stir him with an old John P. Key song. He let the man get some rest. And so many times we are so exhausted that quitting becomes the option when really we just need some rest. But I think that all comes with self-awareness. I often talk about the 3 levels of pour. You as a person should always have someone that you can pour into, sort of like a mentee, someone that you can pour with, like a contemporary, and then someone that can pour into you, like a mentor. But the dangerous thing is that how can you pour if you're trying to pour from an empty cup? If your cup is empty, you throw off the hierarchy. So as men, as Corey said, we have to take a page out of the game book from Big G. He had 6 amazing days where he created the world that we live in. But if God was smart enough to get some rest, definitely the things that he created should schedule some rest in our calendars as well.
I thank you for sharing that information, because each and every day, all of us are trying to figure out, how do we get in a nap? It comes down to scheduling. You know, you're no good or service to others when you don't take time for yourself to be able to move in the environments where you're supposed to move, or move in the environments where you have to move, or move in the environments where you get to move. And each of those things that I just stated, each are different. There's some things in life that we're required to do. There's some things in life that we get to do because we've been graced for it. And there's some things in life we just have to do because otherwise it just won't get done. Kenny Hampton, you are doing such an amazing work in the communities where the African American Wellness Agency serves. How are you guiding not only yourself, but helping men in general prepare their lives for what's next beyond where you met them in their state of disrepair?
Yes. Well, what we're doing is, I know myself personally, I'm just really trying to lead by example. I really do feel as though this position of service that I'm in, both internally with the team that I'm leading, and then also with the communities that we're impacting, we're just looking for authentic leadership, transparency. So I'm very open about some of the things that are challenges for myself. Just making sure that I do all that I can to have that open book, so that our men are able to say, hey, well, if you're going to be transparent, if you're going to share it, then I'm going to share it. And what we've learned is that our men are starting to partner up, and they're starting to have group chats, and they're starting to do things on a more frequent and consistent basis with each other to challenge one another. It was at one of our wellness walks last year that myself and 2 of my best friends attended here in Columbus, Ohio, at our walk. And all 3 of us learned that we had elevated blood pressure levels. And so we did something about it. We changed the conversations that we were having about sports or finances or just, shooting the breeze in our group chats to now challenging one another to ask each other, hey, are you resting more? Are you getting more exercise? Hey, I learned that if we eat beets, that beets can actually lower our blood pressure. So just making sure that we really highlight the idea of having the peer-to-peer support. That's so important. Really wanting us to understand the power in that. And that's why we're doing everything we can at the African American Male Wellness Agency to provide that sense of community for our men to know that, brother, you do not have to walk this walk alone. We are here to lock arms with you. And we're trying to impact as many as we can through that sense of community.
So I have a follow-up question for you, because you just stated you have to consistently remind them that they don't have to walk this walk alone. Mm-hmm. When did it become embedded in men that they honestly believe they have to walk their journey alone?
Well, men, we're prideful. We have a lot of ego. We feel as though that, you know what, if it's up to if it is to be, it's up to me. And I'll transparently share that I used to walk with that mindset until I understood the power of mentorship and understood that I need to have someone pour into me, like was just very well stated. Because if you think that you can do this all alone, you're lying to yourself. And so just really understanding that, hey, the path wasn't designed for you to do this by yourself. It was designed for you to receive the assignment, to understand the assignment, but to go out here and find ways that you can do more with someone else. And I learned that myself. You know, partnership can really take things that we're trying to do to an entirely different level. And our men, we have to understand that collaboration over competition is so key. So we can stand on that, we can build on that and work together and make more of an impact instead of working individually.
Thank you for sharing. I want to bring everybody back in. Just before I do my reflections, I would love for our audience to hear from you one thing that you would like to share with our audience to help them just put one foot in front of the other. Pastor JT.
Okay. Well, my one thing that I would like to share is it's okay to unplug. At the end of the day, I believe that we live in a culture right now where we are multitasking all day, every day. But if you fail to unplug, you will fail you. And if you fail you, you will be no good to anyone else. So I believe that is a great place to start. And it's okay. One of your most powerful words that you may ever say is no, because that no has just given you the power to say yes to yourself.
Thank you for sharing. Mocha Lee.
I definitely want to encourage everyone in terms of wellness and self-care, and just know that every little bit helps, every little bit. So when you said, Dr. Jacquie, how do you put one foot in front of the other? I just encourage everyone to do just that. Put one foot in front of the other and maybe just go out on walks, and you'd be surprised how therapeutic it can be. And also don't forget about drinking your water. It's just the little simple things that you can do for yourself and encourage your family members to do that will make big differences in your health and wellness.
Thank you. Stacy Owens.
To giving and volunteering from your storehouse, give from what you have to give. If you have time, give your time. If you have clothes to donate, give your clothes to donate. But don't overwhelm yourself with trying to do it all. And if you have giving and you don't have anything to give, then partner with someone and get on team to help with someone so that we can continue with that concept of it takes a village. So don't become overwhelmed in your efforts of trying to help others.
Wow, that's a powerful word right there. Thank you so much. Corey Briscoe.
I love what everyone is saying. I think the reality is you've got to look at your cup and understand your portion and your measure. Stop comparing your cup to everybody else and find what it is that you need to do, what it is you need not to do, and then be intentional about dealing with the two conflicts and resolving into a better place for you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Dr. Tierney.
Mm-hmm. The purpose of your purpose is not profits. The purpose of your purpose is using your God-given gifts and talents to help people. Like my Aunt Gina said, as long as you take care of God's people, He will take care of you. Profits and the paper always follows purpose.
Thank you. Now, those are rich words. Penny Hampton.
Yes, one of the things that I share with many people in the community is that no matter the day or the weather, all things work together. I just want to leave that with our audience and let them know that there's going to be some battles, there's going to be some ups and some downs, some highs and some lows. But no matter the day or the weather, all things are working together.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your tips and your insights. When we're back after the break, I'll give my reflections for the day.
put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you hoop him.
Oh my God.
So what?
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. As you can tell, giving to others often allows us to find a space and place where we can not only give ourselves grace, but give grace to others. We've learned about pouring from an empty cup. We've discovered the value of being able to unplug and get rest. We know now that all things do work together for the good. So wherever it is that you find yourself in this season, find something that you can do that will allow you to share from your whatever. It doesn't have to be from abundance. It can also be from a place of lack. Sometimes when we give, we think we have to have it all together. We have to know people. We have to, figure it all out before we can give. As you heard Stacy say, don't get overwhelmed in trying to help other people. Just pour from what you have. And in that, you'll be able to give yourself what is needed to find the rest that you need and find the purpose that brings you joy. Thank you, everyone, for joining our show today. And I pray that you will find something that allows you to not only have joy, but to find your sense of peace, purpose, and passion. Bye now.